All right, for equations of perpendicular lines, you have an explanation about, slopes and how they're related in perpendicular lines. In perpendicular lines, our slopes are opposite reciprocals of each other. So we went through a process of this with our, I think it was 6-1 notes. Attached to our 6-1 notes, that's absolutely where it is. Attached to our 6-1 notes, and it may be in your interest even to get this out and look along, but attached to our 6-1 notes, we actually had, where did it go? Here it is. We did this. Finding the perpendicular bisector of a line segment. This had to do, this was actually taking it a step further than what our equations practice is. So it's this kind of a thing we're doing here for equations of perpendicular lines, but we've had those lesson notes, and I would say it's probably in your interest to have them and use them, be working alongside. So I gave you space on the back. I know a couple of people grabbed lined paper to do this, but I'm just going to use the back side of a different worksheet. So the first problem, the point that they give us is -4 and 5. And the equation of the line that this is perpendicular to is -4x plus 2. And in the process, the first thing that we needed to do was say, all right, if this is what was given, the slope of a line that's perpendicular to it is going to be the opposite reciprocal of -4. So that would be positive 1/4. So the opposite reciprocal of what was given is going to be the slope of our new line. Then we have this x1, this y1, and we have point slope form that we can use. Now, point slope form, I had it written on a sticky here. Point slope form looks like this: y minus y2 equals the slope times y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. So this is our point slope form. We're going to go ahead and use that. It's easier to put these numbers in. And so in the case of number 1, we've got y minus, the y value is 5. That's going to be equal to positive 1/4 times the quantity x minus -4, so it would be x plus 4. So putting in my point, -4 and 5, and my slope. And then I'm going to go ahead and distribute my 1/4. Y minus 5 equals 1/4 of x plus 1/4 of 4 is just going to leave me with 1. And then I'll add 5 to both sides of the equation to get y equals 1/4 x plus 6. That's the equation of the line that goes through this point and is perpendicular to this line. So again, I went and got my slope out of here, took its opposite reciprocal, grabbed the point and the slope, put it in point slope form, and then simplified it down to y equals mx plus b. And we're writing equations for lines that are perpendicular to each other. So I know there's some people that are still working that one out. I'm not going to take as long as I move into the next ones. But the line that we started with, I'm just going to draw a quick graph here. The line that we started with, this one, positive 2 down, positive 2 is the y-intercept, and then I go down 4 to the right 1. Down 4 to the right 1. So that's the line I started with. And then perpendicular to it, the one that I ended with, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Up 1 to the right 4. Up 1 to the right 4. And sure enough, it's perpendicular, and it actually goes through the point -4, 5, like we started with. So we wrote the equation for the line perpendicular, and even in my picture it looks like it. So number 2, I'm going to move along a little quicker now. Number 2, you were given the point 6, 2, and we want the equation of the line that's perpendicular to this one, y equals -1/3 x plus 1. This is what's given. I'm going to use this x1, y1 in point slope form in a minute. The other piece of information I need to know is what's the slope of the line perpendicular to this one. The opposite reciprocal of negative 1/3 is 3. So plugging these things into point slope form, y minus 2 equals 3 times the quantity x minus 6. And then I'm just going to simplify y minus 2 equals 3x minus 18. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. Y is equal to 3x minus 16. And actually, flip your paper over and transfer those answers. That was part of the directions as well, as that you got the math and then you transferred your answers. Number 3, the point is negative 3, 7. And it needs to be perpendicular to 2x plus y equals negative 5. Well, the first thing I'm going to have to do is put this one into, I need the slope of this line so I can take its opposite reciprocal. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is take 2x's away and actually solve this for y so I know what the slope of this line is. So basically, here's the given. Just had to get it into y equals negative 2x minus 5. And then I'm using my point x1, y1, and then the slope of the line perpendicular would be the opposite reciprocal of negative 2, so that would be a half. And then in point slope form, y minus 7 equals a half times x minus negative 3, which is going to leave me with an x plus 3. So I had to take what was given and solve it for y first to get what that slope was. A half is the opposite reciprocal of negative 2. Distribute your half through. Distribute the half through on the right-hand side. And then we will undo the minus 7 to get this in 2. So a half of 3 is just going to give me 1.5, or we could write it as 3/2. Now let's write it as 1.5. And then I'm going to add 7 to both sides. So the final equation is going to be y equals a half x plus 8.5. It would go through the y-axis at 8.5 and have a rise over run of 1/2. Now I'm recognizing when I go to write down number 4, 4 comma negative 5, that the equation of the line that it's perpendicular to is actually in point slope form. They're giving it to us as y plus 2 equals 4/3 times the quantity x minus 5. I got to recognize that in point slope form, there's my slope. Number outside of x is my slope. So even though it's not in y equals mx plus b, I can grab the m right now. What's the opposite reciprocal of 4/3? It's going to be negative 3/4. So I'm writing my new equation through that point for negative 5 with this slope. So y minus negative 5, y plus 5 equals negative 3/4 times x minus 4. And when I distribute my negative 3/4, I'm going to get y plus 5 equals negative 3/4 x plus, it'd be 3. Negative 3/4 times 4. Negative 4 is going to give me positive 3. Then I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides to get it in y equals negative 3/4 x minus 2. Number 5, I'll go back and answer any questions you might have when I'm done with the video. There were some notes on the margin of your paper that I had written down. Our first, or number 5, we have the point 10, and it's perpendicular to the line y equals 8. A y equals line is horizontal, and a horizontal line has a slope of 0. Now, not even using point slope form, just a couple of things. A line perpendicular to horizontal, the perpendicular line is going to be vertical. If it's a horizontal line, a line perpendicular to it, it's going to be perfectly vertical. Perfectly horizontal, perfectly vertical. So then I'm going to go, and vertical lines are in the form, and this was in the notes that I had written down. Vertical lines are in the form x equals. So really the only thing I need to do is, what's the x value that it goes through? So since it goes through 1, 0, the equation of the line perpendicular to y equals 8 is x equals 1. Let me show you that on a graph too, just because it is, just to sort of exemplify the simplicity of it. I started out with y equals 8. Y equals 8 was this line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I had this horizontal line, y equals 8. That's what I started with. And then I was given the point 1, 0. If I put that on it, if I put 1, 0 on my graph, that's right there. And it's just got to be perpendicular to it. So x equals 1 is that line. Appreciate the simplicity of it. So then if we use that idea for what's going on in number 6, 6 is, the point is -6, -1, and this is an x equals 3. So this is a vertical line. So if this is a vertical line, x equals 3, and let's just work through it on the coordinate plane, and then we'll see how it relates to the values. A vertical line, bless you, a vertical line of x equals 3 is going to be, so we're starting out with this. There's my x equals 3. And then it's got to go through this point, -6, -1. So what's the equation of the horizontal line that is going to hit it at a right angle? Y equals -1. You go grab the y value this time, because vertical lines are y equals equations. You go grab the y values because vertical lines are y equals equations. This is horizontal, I mean. Perpendicular line will be horizontal. So use the y value.